Hi, my name is Jim Reed. I'm a home management teacher for the Training Center for the Blind. I'm going to demonstrate for you guys today how to make a pastry cream, a vanilla pastry cream that will go inside of an eclair or a cream puff. Alright, so this pastry cream is basically a stovetop custard. The first step here is I've got eggs and egg yolks already in a saucepan, and I'm going to mix that with some sugar and cornstarch. Between the cornstarch and the eggs, that's what provides the thickness. 1 egg plus 2 egg yolks, a third of a cup sugar, and a fourth of a cup cornstarch is what I'm mixing in the saucepan. In a second saucepan, I have 2 cups of milk, whole milk, and a quarter cup of sugar. I'm going to heat the milk that's on the stove, bring it to a boil, so that's milk and sugar, bring it to a boil. Then I'm going to slowly add it to the eggs. That process of slowly adding a hot liquid to the eggs is called tempering. And the reason you do that is it prevents your eggs from cooking and curdling. The next step is I'm going to bring milk to a boil on about a medium-high heat. I scalded some milk on the stove over about medium-high heat. It's sugar and milk. Now I'm going to transfer it to a liquid measuring cup with a handle to make the tempering step easier, like I talked about earlier. The handle gives me more control. It's got a pour spout on it. And now I'm going to temper this into my eggs. Then I'm going to return it to the heat. So this is a slow process with constant stirring. All right, all of my milk is incorporated. Now I'm going to put this on the burner, about medium-high heat. And here it's just a constantly stirring. You'll be able to it's obvious when it starts to thicken up, which doesn't happen until it starts to boil. Once this is thick and we take it off the heat, the last thing we do is we add butter and vanilla and stir till the butter is melted and fully incorporated. The reason we add the vanilla late is that if you put the vanilla in now and you were cooking it the whole way through, you'd actually cook off all of the vanilla flavor. I can feel it starting to thicken up a little on my spoon, and we are basically there. I'm going to give it another 10 seconds. And I'm taking that off the heat, adding the good stuff, which is a couple tablespoons of butter and a teaspoon or so of vanilla. And then I just stir this all in till the butter melts. All right, so our pastry cream is done cooking on the stove. The next step is we need to transfer it to some sort of wide, shallow, heat-proof container that will then go in the fridge. Wide and shallow will allow it to cool quickly, and if it cools quickly, that prevents any kind of food contamination type concerns. So I'm just using a rubber spatula to scrape all of this out into the cake pan, taking my time to make sure I aim. Now I'm just going to take a second to spread this out into a thin layer so that it'll cool faster. Last step in all of this is we need to cover with plastic wrap so that the plastic is contacting the surface of the cream so that it doesn't create a skin while it's cooling in the fridge. Push it down so that it actually contacts the top of the food. And I'll have to do a couple of layers to cover the entire pan. That'll then go in the fridge for about a half hour to an hour or so to get really cold, and once it's completely cold, then you're ready to use it as you see fit. All right, we've waited 45 minutes. We have a really cold pastry cream that's ready to work with. It's been covered the whole time, so there's no skin. I'm going to get rid of the plastic wrap, and then we'll see what we're working with here. It should be kind of almost a semi-solid is what you're looking for. And that's the reason we need to do our next step, which is to mix it up either using a whisk or a stand mixer fitted with a wire whisk attachment, or what I'm going to use today is just a handheld mixer. All right, so we've got the pastry cream into the mixer, or into the bowl. Now we're just going to mix it up to make it light and fluffy again. That should do it. All right, so now I'm going to transfer this pastry cream that I've whipped up, and I'm going to put it into a piping bag so that we can then squirt it into the bottom of an eclair. All right, so now we're moving on to the step of filling the cream puffs, or the eclairs if you did them in a different shape. Notice they're still nice and poofy and round the way they were when they came out of the oven. That means they're fully baked. For visual appearance purposes, you want to make the hole where you fill these in the bottom of your pastry. So I just pick up the pastry with one hand, and then with a butter knife, I go stab right into the center and the bottom, and just give it a twist to open up the hole. It's about, I don't know, for me it's a finger width size hole, so it's probably about a ½ inch or so. And you would just go through and try to be gentle so that you don't break the shell. Now that I have all of these eclairs, or all of these cream puff pastries with a hole in the bottom, next step is to fill them. So I'm going to take my pastry bag, push all the material down to the end, twist the top, and what I'm going to do is try to shove the tip of the bag into the hole and then squeeze. So find the hole, put it in there, give it a little squeeze, and I'm going to squirt until I feel a little bit of overflow come out. I kind of give the bag a little bit of jiggle wiggle to help move the filling to the different spots. These are kind of large, so it's taking a lot. There, it's pretty full. So we're on to the final step of making the cream puffs, which in a different shape you could call an eclair. So I've still got the whole side up from when I filled them earlier. What I'm going to do now is just take and dip them right side, with the side that's eventually going to go up is going to go down right now into a bowl of melted chocolate. Then I'm going to put them on this platter here with the chocolate side up. So when I melted this chocolate, I let it cool slightly, which thickens it up, which helps it to stay where you put it. And when I put it in the chocolate, I'm kind of swirling the eclair around, or the cream puff around, to get more than just a tiny little bit on the top. So then I carefully transfer it to a final serving dish, and that is how you make a cream puff or an eclair.
Here at Services for the Blind and Visually Impaired, we provide resources and training to Utah residents who are blind or visually impaired to help them reach their employment and/or independent living goals. To learn more about our services and how we can help, please call us at 801-323-4343.